A good set of Negroes here, and they don't want to be disturbed. They really are. I have one that I just love. She nursed my children for about 6 years, and I wouldn't have her want for a thing if I found out that she needed something.
Though this video was made in 1967, and I can point out that my grandmother was born in 1954, my grandfather was born in 1955, this video is not about that. Let's talk about Jane Crow, white woman's complicity in the domestic battlefront during the Civil Rights era. See, Jane Crow, who exists in the home, showcases how a Southern belle invested implicit trust in a woman they believed to be inferior, dirty, and diseased to instantly enter and work in her home. Yet, this so-called dirty and inferior woman could not use the same bathroom or eat at the same table as the white housewife and her family. Ironically and paradoxically, is considered unhygienic and unsafe. In this video, we'll be exploring the importance of studying the private sphere and the place that it has in civil rights period that exposes the significance and that it's underexplored territory of the home. Because studying the home reveals that the racial encounters in the private sphere actually preserve racial hierarchy. Because of this, the home must be acknowledged in order to obtain a full understanding of racism that existed. Now, watch this video of this woman talking about how this person raised a child in her home.
And I was right amused when my daughter from Arlington, Virginia came down. She was one of the children that Missy had nursed. And I got my son to drive us out to see Missy. And she had also nursed him. And his little boy was in the car with us. And when Missy came out, she said, "Look at my children." And she put her arm right around William's shoulder. And the little boy just looked up out of, he didn't know what to make of it. And I said, "Listen, Billy, she was a mother to him for a while. I tell you, she's helped nurse him." And so that's the association we had with them. And I presume there's still some good ones around. Of course, there are some getting some ideas, and that's all right. That's progress.
The paternalistic way in which she talked about the help, quote unquote, that nursed her child was very dehumanizing. There's been a history of black women being denied motherhood while being celebrated to be the mother of other people's children. So research over me search, and we understand there was methods of domination. The home constituted the domain in which the housewife demonstrated loyalty and devotion to Jim Crow. It was here that she utilized various modes of domination to establish and render African-American domestic as inferior. Racial stereotypes were one way that the white housewife exerted dominance over domestics. There's some good darkies here, perhaps, but I guess that's the way progress works. It's a whole bunch of people that was born before 1967 and that was born a little bit after 1967 that live with realities of this right here. They want us to believe, oh, it was so long ago. Natasha McLaughlin continues to write, "The white suburban home is largely an unexplored territory, and its environment was key to the production of racial identity. It possessed integration within a segregated world. The encounters between domestics and white women defined the most intimate part of the racial contract in the South. The home acts as a tool of racial discrimination and segregation. It shows the various rules of power mechanisms that play within the culture of segregation. This established and enforced racial inferiority onto African-American employees." And here's some of the impacts that come from old Jane Crow.
This is a time that is much like Jim Crow. It is a new Jane Crow in the United States where there are free states and there are those where people no longer have access to bodily autonomy. If we took a map and we looked at the map of the Confederacy, of American slavery, of Jim Crow, you would find that it fits quite well over the map that is now anti-abortion. And there's something to be said about those states that were never beacons of freedom for women or people of color or black people particularly. And they are not beacons of hope of freedom now for black women and for people with the capacity for pregnancy in those states. And we've paid far too little attention in drawing that line. And if we draw that line from history into the present, then there are certain things that we do.
In conclusion, Jane Crow reinforced the constructed inferiority onto African Americans, was ironically claiming them to be an equal race. It is only through the interactions and relationships enacted within the home where Jim Crow was so deeply toxic that an attempted continuation of the master-slave relationship is exposed. For the people in the back, Jane Crow reveals how racial integration in the home ironically meant the preservation of white superiority and African American inferiority. She stripped away the fabric that concealed the true sickness and mentalities of this old orchestrated racism, while being able to pass off as the passive, docile being that's in the home of white supremacy that doesn't necessarily benefit from white supremacy or try to keep it going. Education is elevation, research over me search. Let me know if you want this tap. These sources, I mean.